Hello. So let's look today at some Python output. We did this a little bit when we installed Python originally, but I want to make sure we break down what's happening here because we're actually doing quite a bit in just this one line. So what we're going to do is we're going to print everyone's favorite starter program, Hello World. And I want to break down what's happening here. One, I'm typing it in my .py file. That's a Python source file. And that's what I'm actually going to run. You'll also see, watch what happens when I run. It says run module. Any program in Python can also be called a module. So you may hear me use those terms interchangeably. So when I run this module, it says it must be saved. Okay, that's fine. And it says hello world over here. So when we talk about printing, we're talking about output. But let's break this down. We're doing a lot here. One, we're actually calling a function. The function we're calling is called print. You may notice it's in like a pinkish red text. That's the default for the idle editor that says that this is a function that we're calling. We know it's a function because we have parentheses surrounding some arguments here. And we have the function name immediately followed by that open parenthesis. So we're actually calling a function called print, and we're telling that print function to display hello world. Now we can print more than that. So let's print this time and say this is my class. And a couple things to notice. One, there's no semicolons or end characters here at the back of this. There's just an enter key pressed. And also notice I switched from using double quotation marks to using single quotation marks. So let's see what happens. So it actually displayed exactly the same. In Python, it doesn't matter if you're using double quotation marks or single quotation marks. So you can actually layer the two, and you're going to pick whichever one makes the most sense for what you're going to display. So let's say we want to display this is a big dog. It's my dog. All right. So you'll notice I used a single quote for it is contracted to its. And when we run this, we'll get that single quote in there. And because I was using a single quote inside, I needed to use double quotes on the outside. All right. Similarly, if we want to print out a message that is going to need double quotes, I said, hello world. In this case, I'm going to use single quotes because if I use single quotes, then I can use double quotes. Now, there might be a time where you're not entirely sure, or you just don't want to think too much about what it is. You can use the triple quotation mark. It looks intimidating. It's a trick that allows us to say something like, it's a nice day. I told my friend, let's go. 1, 2, 3. All right, that's a lot of quotation marks. Let's see what happens. So you'll notice it kept both my double and my single quotation marks. It just looks in my print line here like a lot of quotation marks. So this is the way that we can use print. You could just always use the triple quotation mark trick, and I'm fine with that. That's a perfectly fine way of doing it. But you can also, if that just gets to be a little bit much, as long as you're careful, you can use the single ones. You just have to know what sort of text you're going to be displaying. So again, we call this first thing, the print, a function. Functions have parentheses that surround things called arguments. Arguments are what change what's happening. This says to print not just anything, but print the words hello world. That's the argument that's passed to the print command. So we have different arguments make us print different things. So at the end of this, we can print out whatever we want in Python just by doing a basic print. We'll see in a little bit that we can also do some formatted printing.